It's one person an hour.
Dying.
Yes. So,
Wow.
who's responsible? Is it all of us? Is it some of us? Who should we be asking? Who should we be calling upon?
First of all, before we even start talking about who should we be calling, the drivers on the road.
Right now.
The drivers on the road first.
Yeah.
Before we start policing you down, that you see, be safe and everything. The number one thing, be a responsible driver first.
It's one thing just to say that, Jalas, but up and down, people don't listen. The guy's tweeting, he's texting, he's on the phone.
Maybe what has happened,
Well, it's a wake-up call.
sent a message. It's a wake-up call.
Why don't we ask Moses Ndorito of the NTSA?
A very good friend of mine for a long time.
For many, many years. He's with us in the studio. Moses, welcome to Hot 96.
Asante sana, thank you.
Karibu sana, karibu sana.
Before we even go far, Mose, what is this, bro? On this first page.
NTSA.
Look at your people.
Your people.
Look at your people. That's the person who should be first putting up people out in discipline. Is driving on the wrong side of the road, making turns katikati and barabara. Look at that in the Muse.
I will deal with this.
Look at that.
I will deal with this. All our vehicles have a fleet management system, so I can easily verify who was driving this car and where it is. So within the course of the day, I'll tell you what action we've taken on this.
Today.
Today.
All right. That's first things first. We need quick action. And it's been, Moses has just said, he'll do it. Now, Sachangwan.
Yeah.
My God, Moses. It's like a broken record. You know there's going to be an accident in December in Sachangwan.
The stretch.
That stretch.
The stretch between Nakuru as you come down to Salga. From Salga, you take the turn up to Sachangwan, all the way to Total.
What is it about that
What is
stretch?
wrong with this place?
I would be lying if I tell you that I know what is wrong with that place. But many interventions have gone into that place, and it's not started now. I mean, when did Sachangwan come into the limelight?
Of course, the
Many
tanker.
years ago, the tanker. So these things have been happening. It's not only in December. It's been happening for a long time. So there's an element of different things. There's the terrain. There's the there's the behavior of the drivers. There is sometimes it's visibility. 2 weeks ago, a matatu had an accident at 3 a.m. It hit a cow. What was a cow doing on the road at 3 in the morning? This one was at midnight. Again, we hear the truck had lost control, was hurtling down. In fact, the first thing I would maybe like to say is this story that NTSA was giving chase to this truck. That is not true. That is actually not true.
Where did it come from? Where did this story come from?
What happened is we actually have, as part of our December operation, we have stationed 2 vehicles in that area just to be able to give presence and to sensitize people that there is a problem there. So what happened is this truck passes. Our vehicle had actually stopped on the side of the road and had flagged down an easy coach bus. The truck passes and they hear screams from the hawkers. Hawkers in the middle of the road. And we all know that they are there. They sell maize, they sell miwa
and everything.
My eye.
So that our vehicle is alerted and puts on the strobe lights and follows. 500 meters from where it was parked, the accident happened. Now, this I can give you empirical evidence because the car is on fleet management. You see the vehicle at 2 minutes past midnight, stationary. 3 minutes later, it stops 500 meters from where the accident had happened. The highest speed our vehicle did was 37 kilometers an hour. So there was no chase. What the officers at the vehicle were trying to do was to put on the lights and alert oncoming traffic of a truck that was speeding down and had lost control. That is the truth, and that evidence for that is there.
And this is what ended up killing all these people?
Look at it this way. There's a truck driving. 18-wheeler truck has lost control. Even if you chase it, how do you stop that vehicle? If you are assuming let's take that story. If you were to chase it, how do you stop it? So it was only stopped by when it actually plowed into other vehicles. Killing it, hit a bus, ripped half the side of that of the bus that's on the headline, and then went through how many vehicles, hit some other. There was a matatu coming up. There was personal cars. The container fell on one side. So my thinking is, we've seen this happen in that place, freewheeling. What do these truck drivers do? To save fuel, when they get to the top, put the vehicle on free
gear,
and they let it roll. When that happens, if you know how trucks work, a lot of their brakes are on, they use air. So if it doesn't fill up, it will not stop. And when he hit the first bump, that's when he actually lost control. In fact, the people on the scene say that the container looked like it was going to fall off. So it hit the first bump, and the container jumped. Evidently, it was an empty container. And the rest is a disaster, just a disaster waiting to happen.
Mose.
And it happened.
Mose.
Yes.
Stories that come from your toll stations. Or no, I wouldn't call them toll stations, but yes, they are toll stations. That these are collecting points where people, you get flagged down. They know very well. When you see the green car, all I have to do is to part with some money and continue with my nonsense. Driving down the road the way you want, you overspeed, they flag you down, part with some money, go ahead. Yet NTSA was actually to be the alternative from what people used to know about traffic police and everything. What suddenly changed from the disciplined team that it was?
I think for me, in the time I've been on the board, what is actually sad is we get a lot of these allegations. And fortunately, unfortunately, I chair HR committee. But to get evidence, somebody who will come and say, I gave Officer X, Jalango, at this place 1,000 shillings. Very rare. When it has come, we have actually taken action and dismissed people. Send them home. Even the police who are seconded to us, we have actually sent some. Some have got the audacity to take money on M-Pesa. And where that comes, we will deal with it. But a lot of times there's this conspiracy of silence. And we all say, yes, they're taking money. There are people who say they've taken money. And then when you investigate, you find that the guy was actually asked for the bond, for the bond to let him go. And then he considered it a bribe. Now, I cannot tell you that there are no people taking bribes. But the only way we can deal with it is by giving us evidence. Jeff, you're stopped. Pay. Tell me you paid and it was this officer at this time. Then we can deal with it. But when everybody, as a society, it's become convenient. In fact, one of the biggest problems when NTSA started was they were saying, NTSA ni wabaya sana, hawakuli. Wasn't that true?
Yeah.
So what does that say as a society? What are we saying? Look at Alcoblo. What does it say as a society? How do we think when we think that the way to get out of a problem is to pay your way out? Is not actually to do the right thing. So there's an issue there.
To beat the system.
I agree, yes, to beat the system. So again, in society, if everybody is throwing money at you, sooner or later, I will say they're bad apples. Some of them will take. But if you find them, bring them on. I can assure you we will dismiss them. The problem is,
no one's going to come out.
No one comes up.
Because you've been let go.
Yeah.
You've been given
Yes.
By the way, Mose, what is wrong with us as Kenyans? Let's go down to the basics. Are we bad drivers by nature? Are we just ignorant of road rules? What is it about us?
I don't think it starts even on the road. It starts, and I think we had this conversation briefly. It starts with how we walk. When I go to other countries, people tend to walk in an orderly manner. You're walking down the road, you keep to one side, the other. You don't bump into people. When you're in school, you line up. We've got like an immunity to order. So it starts from lining up in school. People jump queues at the bank. And you look at the guy and you think, are you crazy? Now, when he
feels nothing.
It feels nothing. When that guy gets to the road, how do you expect him to behave? In the exact same way. So it's a case of we do not like order. So in that process, we've carried on to the road. Overlapping is a normal thing in Kenya. People run across the road. Now we are seeing cows. There's as many cows as there are cars. even in Upper Hill, our financial district has cows. You're going to look out for pedestrians. You're going to look out for other drivers. Now you're going to look out for livestock. We just need to actually reboot ourselves and go back into order. I sometimes make a joke and say that the reason we drive the way we drive is we are pedestrians at heart. Yeah? Or in our minds. Because ask yourself, why don't drivers want to go to the roundabout? Why must they cut across Mombasa Road through the ditch to the other side?
We've talked about this, haven't we?
Because the guy, in his head, he's still walking.
He's walking.
And when you're walking, you're using blood. Why is there traffic when it rains?
All
You
of
have
a
a car.
su- all
Why
of
are
a
you
sudden.
running? You're dry. You're inside the car. Why are you running away? Because in your head, you're a pedestrian. So we carry on these things and we keep doing...
Nitanyeshewa.
Exactly. Like tuko ndani ya gari.
What is it going to take, Moses? What is it 72 deaths in or 70 deaths in 72 hours?
That will be the call to action.
Yeah, what's it going to take?
It's a concerted effort. And we, as NTSA, are at the front of that effort. But any responsibility, safety begins with you. Let's take the analogy of when AIDS was the biggest scourge in Kenya. What happened? We did not say, we went into an area of behavior change. And we remember the ABC, abstain,
Yeah.
be faithful, condomize. We must go into the same kind of analogy, or we must start thinking in the same way, that people must start changing their behavior on the roads. Not when NTSA or police are there, even when they're not there. When you go to other countries, a red light means stop. In Kenya, it's a suggestion that you could stop. Or it's something to color the road. Because if you stop at a red light, people are hooting at you.
Yeah. Move on.
If a pedestrian sees green and tries to cross, he's going to get run over. So we must actually rethink how we do it. And it must be a concerted effort led by NTSA, but the individual must take personal responsibility. Because I would love to drive all your cars for you as NTSA, but I can't. That is an impossibility. So when you get into your car and you decide you're going to drive at 200 kilometers an hour, okay, that you're putting yourself at risk. That can't be NTSA's fault. You must actually take a bit of responsibility. We see today, let's go to Mombasa Road or any other road, mothers carrying their most precious babies on their lap, no seatbelt. In case of an accident, what happens? That baby will be the you've got a seatbelt as the mother, but you're holding the baby. No car seat, nothing. That baby will go through the windscreen. So there's a lack of personal responsibility and a thought of safety. And we must start rebooting that. It requires a concerted effort from NTSA, from the media, from the police, and even the government.
What about public service campaigns? You know, in other countries we see ads for, this is what happens when you drink and drive. This is what happens when you drive at 60 or 100 kilometers an hour. And you know, just what you explained just now, the baby on the lap, once the car hits another car, that baby is flying through that windscreen, that baby is dead. Why don't we a bit of shock therapy?
And again, I go back to what we did with the AIDS scourge. There was a huge push, both by the government, the private sector, the public sector, NGOs, everybody, towards this public campaign. That outrage or those resources have not been availed to road safety. And right now, road safety is becoming a bigger killer than the probably AIDS. I would say it is.
Yeah.
But the public campaigns are expensive. And let me, it's good you've given me this opportunity, but let me also criticize you as the media. The only thing we see the media like to cover for NTSA is what?
Bribing.
Alcohol blow. They will call. Do you guys have an operation this weekend? Why? Because it's entertainment.
We want to film it.
People want to film it. Bullseye, that guy running, trying to run off and falling. He's so drunk he can't. That's entertainment. But you tell them, you ask for people to give messages that you can actually do sane things on the road. The cost, we don't have the budget to do it. So we can't actually do it on our own. So there has to be a concerted effort. And I say, if we are going to honor these 72 who have died, and the 2,000 more who have died this year, we must be able to say, enough is enough. What is the media going to do? What is the government going to do? And I hope the government can start leading from the front also. Sometimes it's very frustrating when you are telling citizens to do the right thing, and then the GK as you have shown me, is doing the wrong thing? What message are we passing? So it has to be a concerted effort across the board. Maybe we need to declare road accidents a national disaster so that it can actually get the prominence it deserves.
Mose, a quick one. You've always seen the numbers at the end of the year of how many road carnages and people who die. This always comes to almost 3,000 to 4,000 since the introduction of the new department, NTSA. What has changed? What has changed? Have the numbers gone down? What has changed?
Actually, in the last 1 year, the numbers went down by 10%. Okay, by 10%. It's the first year where we've actually hit the figure of 10%, which is what our commitment is to reduce road carnages by 10% year on year. Before this weekend, we were at 4%, under 4% compared to last year. However, one weekend and the figures completely change. So yes, there has been some gains, I will say, but we also must stop looking at. I think it's a very. I don't know what I'm trying to find a correct word, that we actually judge what's happening on the roads by how many people die. We need to change and start saying, how safe are our roads? Not just you can't just start thinking fatalities. Do you know how many others are injured? Do you know how many others die afterwards?
Yeah.
So we must start getting into the issue of prevention, where you actually prevent the accident before it happens, not waiting for the guy at the roadblock, then you arrest him. Not waiting like what we've done this for 54 years. The police mount a roadblock, you come, you have no license, you're arrested. We must start using technology. There are cameras all over Nairobi. Big project. Are we using those cameras to be able to police vehicles? What are we doing with the drivers who are rogue, who do this every other weekend? You catch a guy on alcohol blow this weekend. He goes and pays his fine. What happens next weekend if you catch him? Is there a record that follows him? Does his insurance premium go up? Can we ban him from driving? So we also must start thinking holistically. A lot of the things that have been happening are very piecemeal and are very reactive. So in moving forward, as we are saying, we must actually start thinking, how do we do this as an ecosystem of road safety, not just as a one-off for today? Because Salga has happened, we ran to Salga. Salga has been happening for over 10 years. But we've had issues of they are going to change the design. We are looking at dualing the road. This has happened. This dance. Citizen TV the other 2 weeks ago had the Kenha Director General talking about that the tenders or the redesign has started. 2 weeks later, 72 dead.
Very sad. December is here. December is here, and I don't know what December and our roads. I don't know the connection.
It's the drinking.
I don't know.
Drinking.
I think it's the drinking.
Yeah,
and everything.
recklessness.
As NTSA Nderitu, as much as you say that there are no budgets for road safety campaigns, okay, so what have you guys done to make sure that have you guys enforced your teams to the December holidays or anything? Because December and driving, you just seen what has started happening.
Yeah.
What more have you guys done to?
We launched Operation Fika Salama, and the first thing we did last week is meet public service operators, the long distance public service operators, and to be able to tell them that this is a peak period. Yeah, we've come out from a very stressful year. There'll be people who finally have something to celebrate, and there'll be a lot of movement. How do we partner with public service operators, especially long distance one, to be able to get people safe? Now, the main thematic areas in that is speed, issues of contravention, where a matatu that goes to Kayole decides now it's going to go to Mwingi. He doesn't know the road. So contravention, illegal PSVs, a big problem. These are your Pro Boxes, your Voxes, your Noahs that carry people in full glare. You go to Kangemi, they're there picking up people. We show up there, they move. Yeah, illegal PSVs. Drunk driving. It's the festive season. People start drinking as early as in the morning. Lane discipline, which is part of what was happening at Salga on that day. And unroadworthy vehicles. Some of the road vehicles that you see in December have not moved the whole year. But a guy decides going to go to Dala And so he picks up his car. It's not in good shape. It can cause. So we've created teams across the country, like the area we have, that's Nakuru team, where they will be at Sanchangwan and Mau Summits. We have got a Machakos team in Salama and Kitui. We've got a Voi team, Mombasa team, Eldoret, Kakamega, Narok, Kericho, Kisumu, Nyeri, Embu, Kisii, Meru, and Nairobi team. Those are the teams we've created. So what we've also done is we are beefing them up with other members of staff. So every department gives some of their members of staff to be able to go and help in policing and in actually just doing enforcement and sensitization in those areas. So you will see me out on the roads as early as this weekend. You'll see me out on the roads, also doing my part as a board member, and also the other board members will also be attached to teams so that you can see a bigger presence, because evidently Kenyans want to be policed.
Yeah. Bottom line, is it working, Moses? Is this working, or are you guys just
sit back, enjoy the perks that comes with it, and call it a day, and say, you know what, we are a department created by the law, so we are here. Let's
watu wakitaka kujiua wacha wajiue,
wacha time yetu ikiisha, we'll go back. I must still get back to my fancy ride. I'll go back home. Whatever happens, let it be.
I wish I could say that. Jeff and Jalango, you guys know I'm a motorcyclist.
Yeah.
Every time I get on the road, I put my life at risk because of the perils of the road. That call at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. and you're being told 17 people have died. There is no way you can sit back and say that I'm enjoying the parks. What are the parks? Well, your effectiveness is judged by how many people died on the road. There is nothing worse than that phone call. There is nothing worse. There is no money that can ever pay you, or any parks that can ever pay you for how you deal with that. The day you actually have to go and break the news to a widow, to children, that they will not see their father again, it does something to you. So there is nothing that can actually, there's no way I can sit back and say that. But is it working? To an extent, it's working. We saw a gain of 10%. We see certain areas. I can tell you there are matatu circles in this country that have not had an accident in 3 years on self-regulation. And we meet them, and those are the people we are trying to emulate. There are others, because what you have to do is, as I said, safety begins with you. Anything that works is based on self-regulation. Jeff, I cannot be in your car to drive your car, but I can tell you that by you keeping to the speed limits, you will get home safely. And the question I like to ask is, you guys have kids. They take school buses.
Yes, they
do.
How many beers should your school bus driver have before taking your kids to school?
Hey, how could you ask that? None.
How many?
None.
So, maybe 10 bottles of Keringet.
Exactly. So if that is the standard you want for your children, why shouldn't that be the standard for everybody on the road?
Okay, so why is it that people board a matatu or bus and they know that driver's not 100%? Whether it's there for 3 days and he's not seeing right, or he's just, he's smelling of alcohol. And yet he gets behind that seat and you are behind a seat and you're in trouble. Your life is in his hands.
And there's a time where we had a lot of media about Zusha campaign. I was saying, Zusha, make noise about it. It is your life he's threatening. If today you went to the dentist and you see the guy shaking because he's on something, will you let him continue? But why do we do it? Why do we do it? And then when the accident happens, what happens?
We start saying,
naomba serikali, that's what happens. But we must be able to start taking personal responsibility. While you hold me responsible as NTS, and I will not run away from my responsibility, you must also take some responsibility to yourself for your own safety and say that I will not allow this person to do this.
We are speaking live to Moses Nderito. He's on the board of the NTSA. We're talking about these horrific accidents. You heard 2,000 deaths so far this year. And it's only December the 13th. Send us your questions or maybe even call in, Jalash. We do call-ins?
Yes.
0722
208020
or 0734
208020.
What do you want to ask Moses Nderito? Let us know.
You're now rocking with the best, man.
It's the Hot Breakfast with Jeff and Jalango.